Do you think the gardening season is just about over with? You would be wrong. Fall, my friend, is the perfect time to start gardening all over again. And it doesn't have to be with the intensity that you would do in the spring and summer months. Hi, my name is Lisa and I'm from Sage Oak Homestead. And today's video, I want to talk to you about getting a fall garden started. We want to talk about why, the advantages, the disadvantages, and we also want to discuss a few of the things that you can get started because this is the month of August. We're in mid-August, and if you really want a fall garden, this is the time to get planted. So the first question is, why plant in fall? This is August. If you're growing a garden, you're bringing in harvest right now. So why do you want to go through the trouble of doing another wave of planting just to do another wave of harvest? Easy. In the months of August, September, and October, you're going to find that the pest pressure is a lot lower. And as the temperatures fall, it's a lot cooler to actually garden in the fall months. That's point number 2. It's cooler to garden temperature-wise. The other reason why planting a fall garden is so important is it alleviates some of the pressure from the summertime garden in 2 different ways. One, it gives you a chance to replant some of the failures that you've had in your garden in the past, this past summer. Another reason is because the temperatures are cooler and the pest pressure is lower, that gives you a chance to plant and harvest and eat more fresh than being so focused on preserving. So when is the best time to start your fall garden? Well, it really depends on you. It depends on where you live. I live here in Michigan. I'm in Zone 6A. And my fall garden technically should have been started back in July. July was a busy month for me. I didn't get a chance to do anything in the garden as far as fall planting for the month of July. But here, the month of August, I have been busy. And the reason why is because you have to start calculating when your first frost date is. It's very easy this day and age to know when your first frost date is going to be. Simply go to the Farmer's Almanac. I'll put a link in the description below. You can plug in your zip code and it'll tell you when your first frost date is. That is not something that's etched in stone. It's not like if your first frost date is October 5th, like mine, that all of a sudden the ground is going to freeze and that's it. But what it does give you is a general idea of how long you have to grow warm weather and cold weather crops before they start getting a freeze. That being said, let's talk about some of the things that you would want to plant. Now, I am going to be focusing this more on a zone 6 in colder climates. But what you want to do is you want to look at your seed packet and work backwards. You want to say, okay, when is my first frost date? So you want to look at how many days to maturity does any given plant have? And then you want to say, well, when do I need to plant it? For example, the corn that I have showing you here is a dent corn. That dent corn takes up to 120 days to maturity. It would not be good for me to try to plant if my first frost date is October 5th and my date today is August 15. That means I'm a little bit late on planting dent corn if you do the math. However, there are some things that I can plant that are just in time. The first thing that you want to add to your fall garden are beans. Now, what I have growing here is a climbing bean. And honestly, depending on where you're at, especially if you're in a colder climate like I am, you're a little bit late for climbing beans. But this is a perfect time for bush beans. Most bush beans are 50 to 60 days to maturity. That gives you enough time to plant it from seed in your garden and have a harvest before your first frost. Next up on the list is what I have growing here, and that is carrots. Next up on the list is what's growing right behind me, and that is asparagus and any sort of perennial. So that would include things like trees, blueberry, blackberry, all of your berries. This is a good time to get those things in ground so that with the warmer temperature, they can form roots and they can get going so that when you get your first frost and you get into winter, they will be already established. That being said, it may be a little bit more difficult for you to find it in a local garden center, but don't give up. You can also shop online to get some of these perennial things in the garden. The other thing that you want to start planning for is these guys right here, the beautiful, beautiful kale. Now, right now, as you can see, my kale is getting eaten a little bit. It's time for me to let some of the chickens in here so that way we can take care of some of these pests. But kale and collards are the best thing to start while the soil is workable because they tolerate the frost. So if it gets a little cold and it gets a little frosty, they will be fine. And as a matter of fact, they actually sweeten up with the first frost. I also forgot to mention that with carrots are actually really good when they have a first frost. So don't be worried about your carrots getting a little bit frosty because it sweetens them up just like it does anything from the brassica family. Wow, it's really humid today, so I thought I would head on into the shade just to cool down a little bit. Some of the other things, depending on your location, that you can get going in your garden, and that would be some of your summer squash. This is a good time if your summer squash, like I've used as an example before, if your summer squash has gone the way of the squash vine borer, this is a good time to get a second planting of it. Some of the other things that you want to get going in your garden, and you want to do it, especially if you're in zone 6 or cooler, you want to do it right now. And that is, like I said, kale, Swiss chard, collards, lettuce, arugula, any of your leafy greens, and also please don't forget spinach. This is a perfect time to grow spinach because if you're in a cooler climate like I am, I think starting next week or the week after, we're going to have our temperatures start to go way down. And that's what spinach actually really likes, is it likes the cooler temperature, but not just the temperature, the air temperature, but it also likes the cooler soil temperatures as well. So don't forget your spinach. One of the things you always want to remember about having a fall garden, and that is the sunlight. It's called Persephone, and that means the days are getting shorter. Like I said before, I'm here in Michigan. We've had long summer days, meaning that the sun doesn't set until about 9:30. But now that we're starting here in the month of August, the sun is starting to set earlier and earlier and earlier. So that really means that the days being shorter means that it's less sunlight. So don't forget, when you are calculating and thinking about what you want to get into the ground right now, think about your daylight hours. Try to make sure that you have an absolute the sunniest spot in your garden that you can find. That's where you want to plant your fall garden. So hopefully that answers the why, the what, and also the where. Where you want your fall garden to be is the sunniest spot. The reason why is because of pest pressure, the air is cooler, and the what, well, there's a bunch of things that you want to plant. You want to plant your kales, your collards, your carrots, your bush beans, anything and everything that has a short day to maturity. So you really want to read those seed packets and really be looking at your calendar and know what your first frost date is. Well, that's it from me here. Stay tuned for the next video because I am going to be doing another video giving you guys a tour and letting you see the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that's going on here in our gardens. So until next time, happy homesteading, happy gardening, and I'll catch you on the next video.